guys, this is Lucy Polgar from LastBSTN, sponsored by Fight Division, here on the Double Up podcast with Lamine, the insanely talented, videographer, am I saying that right?
Videographer, photographer, social media manager.
Yes,
but
love
all
it.
Of them, yeah.
So I want to get straight in. We've just been talking off camera about like living a life of passion and like the difference of some people who like go for the job and the security and the money, and then some people who follow the passion. Obviously, what you're doing is led by pure passion at the minute. Like, where did that start? Like, when did you spot that and think, this is what I want to do?
Long story short, I think at 16 was like the first time I really just was one of those Shopify kids where I liked making money online, etc. And then I didn't really make a lot of money from it, to be honest. But just like I started an Instagram page, tried selling stuff online. Then like the first time I saw that I could make money online, I was hooked on just trying to be self-employed in something.
Yes, yeah.
Long story short, kept on having several side hustles, nothing really took off, etc. Went to uni, moved to London, and wrote my dissertation on martial arts, the industry, etc. And for like 1 year, as one of the many side hustles, I ended up doing social media management and was making about 3.5K on something I hated, honestly. And then I ended up getting a job at Amazon, and I was like, you know what? I actually hate what I'm doing right now. Let me try something else, because I was spending too much time in my bedroom, just like working, because there was also COVID. So like you wouldn't really go out and do something, you'd just be stuck in your bedroom, not doing anything that you liked to do. Got a camera, and again, always liked combat sports, like Muay Thai, like MMA. I was like, you know what, just go to a couple of gyms and just shoot, see what you can get out of it. And honestly, just organically took off, like met some amazing people along the way. Just, I would be lying if I said I had a plan, because I didn't have a plan whatsoever. I just like meet one person, that person introduces you to someone else, and then just like, here we are.
Do you know what? Like, selfishly, I love hearing conversations like this, because obviously with LastBSTN, like that's what we're doing. Like, obviously, you just have the passion and you sort of like following it. So it's really comforting to hear that you do just meet people along the way, and it does just, if you follow the feeling, it does take off. Literally, everyone who's sat here so far has said the same. Ellis Barbosa, who's absolutely nailing it at the minute, he said the same. He was like, he just had this vision, had this like something inside of him, and he thought, I'll just follow it with no real plan or no real promise that it's going to pay off. What is it in people, do you think? Because so many people have that feeling but are too scared to follow it. So what is it with people that think, like yourself, who just think, I've got the feeling, I'm going to go for it?
I feel like so many people try to find something, and that's a challenge. Where it's like, it sounds very philosophical, but like, let the thing find you. Because I tried so many different things previously and nothing worked out. And it might have worked out financially, but in terms of like me actually enjoying what I'm doing, I never found something. So even then, people are like, I want to quit I think Alice talked about the same thing. I want to quit my job and just start something and build it. But do you have the financial resources to do so right now? Do you have the opportunities right now? So even for myself, I just played around, did different things. And then I had my 9-to-5, and then on the side, I just kept on doing photography, videography, looking at where it would take me. And then over time, it just grew organically to a point where I was like, I make the same amount of money from my job as I do from the quote-unquote side hustle. Let me actually just focus on this one other thing. Because if I can make it work in the little amount of time that I have available to me currently, what if I actually focus on it? What if I don't have to think about my 9-to-5 anymore? So I think that's one of the big things. People try to jump into something rather than letting it come towards them, which is just going to lead to stress, high expectations, and both are good for you. But if you're just guided by stress for the entire life, it's not going to work out for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you're right. So Ellis did say the exact same. So he was saying, obviously, the problem we have at the minute is with social media, especially, it does show like just the highlight reels and the success story. So people, and I'm bad for it too, like you just look at something and think, oh cool, that must have just happened. Like you don't realise like the build behind it.
It takes time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It takes so much time.
But I think it's really realistic and refreshing advice to hear that, listen, I did the 9-to-5 for so long until it was at a point where I could safely jump. I think we've heard that quite a lot, which is really refreshing, because before a lot of these conversations, I think even I was under the mindset of like, well, it just happens. And it's like, no, you've got...
It doesn't just happen. Like this Hollywood stories that you hear from people having like this crazy ideas. I think even if you are a genius, say an Elon Musk or like a Zuckerberg, etc., building those massive software, social media platforms, etc., it takes time. Like even if you're a genius, you have to find other people buying into what you are doing. You have to find the customers. You have to find the trust in yourself. family trusting, because a lot of times you're just going to sit there and have to spend so much money, which you might not have. So you have to have other people around you that support you in the journey, trust you, etc.
Yeah.
I think people want something to work out quickly, and I think I was lucky in that. Yeah, lucky. I'll just use that word. In that it was quicker and easier for me than I expected, but still it took time and a lot of hours to just get some work done and really prove myself in the industry.
Yeah, that is another thing as well, is like sort of, it won't happen overnight because you've not sort of earned your stripes yet. Like you do have to sort of like put the groundwork in and make the connections and build the foundation, and then you're sort of like taken more seriously, or your work's seen by a different person, or it is all those like building blocks, which obviously logically we know.
Yeah.
But like I say, like you just see like these overnight, well, never overnight success story, is it? But what seems to be an overnight success story. So yeah, I love conversations like this because I think it's showing the reality of actually that's not always the case, and if you really want to do something, you have to be realistic about what it's actually going to take to do it. So yeah, I love that. What were you doing before? So like the 9 to 5, like what was the job before? So you said Amazon.
Yeah, so I was working at Amazon as like a consultant with conversation offline. So quick summary, basically you have brands selling on Amazon, but because they're fairly big, rather than them just throwing a product out there and seeing how it goes, it's like I would be the person within Amazon working with that particular brand, explaining to them how they should go about pricing, what is their long-term strategy. We would buy into their stock, and then it just helps us work together and get the most out of that. I think I took a lot of learnings out of just growing, or more so managing a business, because of those high-level conversations you had to have at that point. It just, for me personally, after some point I was like, I went to business school previously. I always knew I wanted to run a business. Yeah. It's just like this thing of like all of your friends are having the same conversation, but I want to have a business. I want to be self-employed. I want to do something. And then it's like for 5 years, everyone was like, I want to. And you never see that jump from like, I want to I have.
Yes, yeah.
And that was like me speaking to myself. I was like, I saw this thing on Instagram about like, you have an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur. Like an entrepreneur is just like, I want to do something, but I'm not. And I was like, looking in the mirror, like, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I'm really not. Yeah. But then you still put that label on yourself, like, I'm this creative person who does all this stuff, but then I didn't do anything. So that's kind of where I was like, I have to get something done at some point now and just take a risk.
So how long were you doing so you say like the passion sort of started when you were 16, like how long were you doing like the sort of normal jobs as well as the side hustle? Like how long did that, were you doing that in duality before you was at that safe space of, okay, now we're okay to jump? So
I did social media management for 1 year, so that's about 2021 until May 2022, I would say. During that time, I had a part-time job in a company where I had a placement previously, while also finishing last year of uni. And then from June 2022 until just a couple of months ago, I was working on 9 to 5 at Amazon, which is the same timeline where I was also doing the videography stuff in the combat sports space. And so basically the first 12 months of me working with cameras, I was always having a job on the side, which just helped me buy the equipment, which is already super expensive. Being able to travel around, being able to do stuff with training myself in how to use a camera and stuff like that. So people want to say, quit the 9 to 5 and do those other things, but honestly, don't do it. It's too risky, and you need that safety net somewhere, whether that just be financial resources or just like having the trust from your family to tell them, hey guys, I want to try this thing, don't worry, I still have this other thing to fall back on if it doesn't work out.
Yeah, these conversations are so important though, because like I say, I don't want to like keep harping back on like blaming social media for everything, but
it's Twitter.
It's just so dominant in society at the minute, and we do, and like I say, I've been bad for it myself. You kind of do, like, there's all these like really impractical motivational speeches, like burn the boats, go all in, 100%, like every day, do your passion, and it's like the reality is, you have bills to pay and you have like a normal job, and so it's just nice to hear when the people we spoke to, like yourself and others who are successful now and what they're doing, every one of them is saying like, actually the reality is I didn't do that. I kept my normal job, I stayed as secure and as like, I don't know, sort of like, it is like a security blanket, so you can be relaxed enough say relaxed, maybe that's not the right word, but so you can be confident enough to go all in. So what was the moment for you? Was there like one of those turning moments where you were just like, I am not doing this anymore? Or did it gradually turn?
I don't want to burn bridges inside of Amazon. I had some experiences at work where I was like, they didn't hurt me too much in a moment, but I was just like, if this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, am I going to be happy? And the answer there was simply no.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that I wasn't happy with the job, but more so how would I feel about not having tried, so to say. Yeah. And if I then try something and it doesn't work out, because realistically speaking, if we're being honest here, saying I want to be a photographer, videographer in the fitness or combat sports space, it's not necessarily the safest job if you tell someone that's what I want to do. If I don't even have a background in it, it's just like me picking up a camera, jumping on YouTube and trying something. It's not necessarily something which is very safe to do. So I think a couple of experiences there, still being young, that led to me just thinking, you know what, why not try? Worst thing that's going to happen is that you go back to your job. Because realistically speaking, the risk is zero. Like you just speak to someone and they're like, oh yeah, I did take a couple of years out to try my own thing. It didn't work out. So I'm back in a 9-to-5 now. I'm more than happy to do that. It's just that did you actually try? And the thing for me is I want to be able to go back and be like, I tried. So once I sat down, I was like, I have a conversation with myself thinking, is this really the worst that's going to happen? I come back to where I am now. And the answer was yes. It's like, then why am I not trying it? Just like emotions aside, purely logical thinking. And that's when the answer was yes. And
did you have a conversation with the company you were working for at the time, like to say like, I'm thinking of going doing this, but can I come back if it don't work?
No. No. Because on one hand, I get it that that company might not trust you to be the person that's good for them in the long haul, because you are like, yes, my mind is actually somewhere else. I'm doing this to pay the bills, and that's fair if they don't want to work with you at that point. I completely get it, especially like just big companies like Amazon. It might be very different. But also, I think subconsciously, I didn't want to keep that door open too much, because it's kind of talking to myself, and that's like mindset stuff. It's like, everyone can agree or disagree. I was like, I'm going into this thinking I'm going to make it work. So I don't want to be like, oh, can you just make sure that in 12 months, if it doesn't work out, I can just come back quickly?
Yeah, because then if it gets a little bit too hard, it'd be too tempting to be like, I'll just go there. Yeah.
So similarly, right now, I'm in a situation where I did get other job offers when I told previous clients of mine that I would quit my job. And they were like, oh, you want to work for us? I was like, it's tempting. It can be good money. But is it going to get me to where I said I wanted to go? The answer was no. And then that's really just like turn off the emotion, just be like purely logical and take the risk.
I love it. Do you know what though? That's a skill, because I think a lot of people in that situation. So say you leave the job that you don't want to do anymore. Like you do the self-inventory and think, right, this isn't what I want to be doing in 5 years' time. So I'm going to try something else. But then another shiny thing comes over and says, ooh, what about me? Like I've got more money and more opportunities here. But then the passion's over here. I think so many people can quite happily leave the one that they're miserable in to go for the passion, but then something else with more money comes in the middle. And a lot of people divert to that because, again, like you said, like emotions. But it's weird because even though it is an emotional feeling to go for the passion, it's more fear that, oh, actually, this just feels secure.
I think fear is the biggest one, because a lot of times, especially in an industry that is still growing, I consider Muay Thai to still be a growing industry in particular. I can look at other videographers and photographers and be like, they literally just got paid 1K for 30 minutes of work because they're in a different industry, doing the same thing I'm doing right now. But because there's more money in the industry, they can make so much more money. And then it's very easy to be like, oh, I might be a bit short on money this month. Let me just do this thing. But it's like, did I come here for this other thing or for what I'm doing now? Did I know beforehand that it's going to be a long-term play, which I'm doing right now? And the answer was yes. So it's like, stick to what you're doing right now.
Do you know
it's a scary one.
Yeah, it is. But it sounds like you're very self-aware for it. So I think where other people might struggle is if they've not sat down and asked themselves those questions like, do I want to be doing this in 5 years' time? What is the actual passion? Is it the videography and filming or whatever it may be, or is it the actual combat sport and this side of it? And to get really specific on what actually is it, and then you know where the direction is. Because if you've just sort of you've got a passion, but it's a bit watery or a bit, it's not really this is the focus, then it's a lot easier for those distractions to really grab hold of you. So I think it's great that you've done such an inventory on yourself and been like, no, I know what it actually is. So then that must make the path a little bit clearer.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also, you might see it in my stories every now and then, I will live right next to the O2, which I'm very lucky in that regard, because I'm a big fan of like MMA, UFC, Muay Thai, etc. Everything really. All those major events are at the O2.
Yeah.
So I wake up, I see the O2. So I'm like, I know where I want to go. I want to shoot at the O2. I want to be part of those massive shows there. So it's like a daily reminder of like, this is what I want to do. So if there's an opportunity coming up to shoot real estate, I'm like, that's the O2.
Yeah.
I want to shoot the O2.
the reminder
that's
is
my
literally
goal.
right there.
So I feel like it's just about constantly reminding yourself, but also importantly, having people around you that know where you want to go.
Yeah.
So that those people can just check you and be like, this isn't what you said previously. For me, that's my brother. Like, yeah, he just tracks me daily. It's like,
that's your brother?
Yeah. He just, it's like, makes no sense. Like, doesn't care about my emotions. What I would say is he cares more about, because he knows me perfectly. He's my twin. We grew up together, obviously. It's like, we still live together. He knows perfectly what I want to achieve. And he's like, I don't care about your emotions. I care about what you said you wanted to achieve. So if I have to check you right now and be like, this makes no sense, I don't care about your feelings because this is your bigger goal and your bigger goal is more important than your emotions right now. I'm going to tell you that.
Yeah.
And the thing, especially with social media, it's in this weird space, I feel like, where you have on one hand, hustle culture, just like work. And then you have like the self-care culture of like,
oh my gosh.
Don't work,
Yeah.
chill, go to the spa, get a massage. There's a time and place for both of them. But reality for me, at least, is that I need people to be honest with me and be like, if I get off track, just like get me back on that track. Yeah. It's not even your responsibility, but I appreciate someone just like coming up to me and being like, this makes no sense. And like, don't be soft about it. Just like tell me it made no sense. And like, fair enough, I'll take it.
That is so true. I've never resonated more because you've literally just described my Instagram feed.
Yeah.
It's like, there'll be a picture of like, no days off, like pure hustle, let's grind. And then it's like, take care of yourself. And I'm like, which one?
Yeah.
Like, so that literally is like my feed. And I think it's really hard. I've been having this argument with myself, literally, and with Miles, over the last 2 weeks of like, it's so difficult to find, I don't want to use the word balance because I don't think there is a balance. I think it's just, you have to be self-aware and know that, like I know I've got an insane work ethic, but I also know you do need to know when that time needs to come for the spa and the break and the self-care, but then you need to know when actually you're just taking liabilities and being a bit lazy with it now. So I think that's personal to each person, and that's why people get so frustrated with it because, you know, I can't advise you when you're on the verge of burnout, you can't advise me. It's just, you have to just be intrinsically aware of, like, how far can I do the hustle culture? And then even if it's just an afternoon or a day to myself to recharge and then hustle again for another 9, I think it's finding that ratio for yourself. Like, do you feel like you've got that?
No. But I feel like it also comes down to you have to be realistic about where you are in your journey.
Yeah.
Because the thing for me is I've been a couple of months out of my 9 to 5. So like that entire security net that I had, it's not there, or safety net isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
So I can't just go down and talk to my family about like, hey, I just quit my job to do this thing. I just don't feel like it today. I just want to chill and watch TV. They're just going to be like, bro, you just told us that you are willing to put your heart and soul into this. And then as soon as it hurts, you're going to stop. It's just not the time and place, but I feel like the balance isn't there. Honestly speaking, I don't remember the last time I had a day off. I'm not saying this as in like every single day I'm working 12 hours, I'm doing like crazy work. It's like, no, it can be small things like reaching out to people, sending emails, etc. But just like, where are you at the moment? And then just keep going with that. A lot of people speak about like the minimum viable product of like, this is the minimum product you have to offer. You can also think of like the minimum viable action that you have. Like, what is the smallest amount of work you can do, which is still work, but it's not going to lead to burnout essentially. And for me, a lot of my work is just reaching out to people, getting in touch with people. If I'm very burnt out, can I sit on the couch, just like put something on TV and just like message people on Instagram, trying to get the next client, sending emails, cleaning up folders, etc. Which is still work. I have to do it. And it keeps me consistent, at least in what I'm doing. Because at the end of the day, like small sprints and then stopping for 3 days because you're burnt out, it's not going to get you anywhere.
Oh, I've never heard it that articulated that way. I will absolutely leave with that advice. Like, I think I needed to hear that, as in like, I do go the opposite way. I'm like, sprint 150 mile an hour. It feels like you're just in first gear going uphill, like just revving, and then you do burn out. Whereas you're saying, actually, you can be working every day. So I see like working every day as like, I'm doing 12-hour shifts every day and like then trying to do stuff. So I'm doing the working every day, but to an extent that's not sustainable. Whereas you're saying you can work every day, but just what is the... As long as every day you're doing something that's working towards the goal, you are still working, but it doesn't have to be 100 mile an hour every day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And also, I think we just want to stay busy rather than productive.
Yeah.
Politically speaking, my job, it consists of communication, shooting content, editing content.
Yeah.
Everything else is just like, can be good for business, but it's not really going to do a lot. So if I can just do like the small things, which I have to do, they might not be attractive, they might not even be complicated. It's like very simple stuff. Just do those simple things.
And every day you're working towards something. Then,
exactly. It can be very simple. Like in my case, because I live in London, there's a lot of time where I'm just going to be sitting on a tube for hours. Can I just be on the tube, and rather than scrolling through Instagram, I can just message people on Instagram? Yeah. Can I send emails? Can I even just listen to a podcast? Potentially, if I had a long night beforehand, can I just sleep on the train?
Yeah,
like those small things.
Your time,
yeah, exactly. I think it's just everything down to time, because there's so many things you could be doing, but like what is going to get you closer to your goal?
Oh, it's great advice, and I just want to go back and touch on again. Like I just really want to reiterate the point of what you were saying. With it's about where you're at in the journey. Yeah. So, because I was sort of saying, like, it's hard trying to find the balance of when do I go all out, when do I have the day off, when do you do the self-care, when do you do the hustle culture. But I think you've got a really good perspective on it. It's like, it's not really about finding the balance of that. It's about stepping back from those two options of self-care and hustle culture, and thinking, right now, where are you at? Which one do you need to do to get you to that goal? Because I feel like in a week you'll think, oh, I've not done this, or I should have done this, or I didn't have a day off, or I have had too many days off, and I'm worrying too much about trying to get that balance right, where actually I just need to step back and think, how close am I to my goals? Where am I at in the journey for it? So that's again just something that I think it's good to hear, like, other perspectives from people who are doing a similar sort of thing, because when you are so close to something and you're living it every day, you don't have that moment sometimes where you can step back and think, oh, actually, where am I at in the journey?
And I did get that a lot when I was just like, I have to shoot, edit. And then by the end of the weekend, I would have thought, what am I actually doing? Like, what direction am I heading into right now? You sort of have to think like business maintenance against business growth. You always want to grow for most people starting out.
Yeah.
But like, if you're just focused so much on the maintenance, just like doing stuff for the sake of being busy, you're not going to do anything productive afterwards.
Yeah, I think that's such a problem again so anyone listening who's thinking like they've got a side hustle or trying to do something, is like, we're just not really specific enough, because we're doing tasks every day. I'm bad for it. I'm doing something every single day. But then just to have that moment, even if you're like, that can be one of your small steps towards your goal, is to just have an hour where you step back and do like an inventory of like where you're at, where you want to be, what you need to do to get there. But I think a lot of people are so busy being busy that they don't actually focus on, is the stuff that I'm busy with actually moving me forward? Or am I just really busy but I'm on a treadmill and I'm not moving? Or am I actually outside and I'm running forward? Is there any forward momentum, or am I just running on the spot? So I think I've been bad for that quite a few times.
That's a tough one.
Right, so I want to go into the martial arts and the combat sports stuff. So you said obviously wanting to film and stuff like that started around 16. Where did the love for martial arts come from?
Sort of nowhere, if I'm being honest. So about, when was the same time, it sounds like so generic, but like the time Conor McGregor fought Habib, I've always been aware of like combat sports, like Anderson Silva, John Jones Gustafsson fights, etc. Sort of MMA, particularly, and COVID hit, and then it's like, okay, I have nothing to do. I'm sat at home, just like, I don't care about football anymore. I don't care about basketball. I like all sports, but I wouldn't follow them that much. And then I just came across the UFC, and then from there, I just like,
this is cool.
It's really cool. So like started training as well. I mentioned a friend of mine from Thailand. He obviously is from Thailand, so he was learning Muay Thai at that time. I went to the same gym as he did, etc. Started training and like felt so welcome. Just like loved the experience. I was like, oh my God, how is it possible? Like, people portray it as like this brutal industry. It's like so tough. And the sport itself is tough, yes.
But it's
the community, exactly, community. It's so good. Like everyone is respecting one another, and people are like, but aren't people arrogant? Aren't they bullies? It's like, try being a bully in the gym. Like, someone is better than you. You're going to get beat up. It's not going to happen. It's like
sport in the world.
Exactly. So that's really where it came from. And then organically just started growing the love for the sports in general, like whether it be Muay Thai, BJJ, boxing, etc., MMA. Just really enjoyed it. And then even more so just like the fighter stories, because I feel like they don't really get covered in a lot of detail. You just get portrayed in like promotion materials, like this brutal fighter has the most knockouts, has this, has that. But what you don't really see is like, this person has a family, this person's trying to pay the bills, this person is trying to prove themselves, this person is doing all of those things.
Absolutely.
And then like once I was able to really get in touch with the fighters, not me actually being there, but like finding stuff online, telling their stories, I was just like, this is so amazing. And the mindset of fighters in particular is something that I've just loved so much.
Oh, absolutely. Saying like, so that's what this is about, really. It's like trying to get behind the mind and like knowing the person. Because I was the same. Like, we love going to the shows and love doing the interviews, but we was of the same mindset of like, sometimes I don't want to just go through, oh, so you've had 7 knockouts and da-da. I don't want to go through the stats, because you can just Google that. I want to know about the person, like, you know, how did your mum feel when you quit your job to do this, or and to get into that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think there is like a real want for that at the minute, which seems to be like, there's so many documentaries at the minute on like Tyson Fury's just put one out on Netflix, and obviously the Conor McGregor Forever and stuff. I know,
I've watched it 6 times.
We both had that on repeat. Like, I saw that you've been watching that on repeat. But same. But there's such a growing want for people to want to know the person behind it and the story behind it. Do you feel that obviously you're in the industry of like the behind the scenes, do you feel that change in momentum from when you first started to like, oh, actually now there's a real want for this, like people want to see behind the scenes in the fighter's story? I
feel like that, yes, just because showing combat sports on TV and like internet, etc., it has been around for so long. Like people were kind of, I feel like this at least, people used to just want to watch the fights, but now that there is social media and a lot of people get to see the behind the scenes, they're actually like, there's so much more to it. Because you don't know what you don't know. So it's very easy to feed into the promotional material of like the big promotions and be like, this is just like a brutal fighter. These are the knockouts, etc. And to be fair, like even for myself, when I do meet fighters, I think you have to turn off that fan mode almost of like, you see someone like, I'm a fan, like, oh my God, your fight against this person was so sick. Because also I feel like for the fighters themselves, it can just be annoying. When you meet someone, it's like,
I'm learning that myself.
Do you, like, do you remember this fight, like this knockout? And it's like, bro,
yeah, of course I do, I was there.
Yeah, exactly. It's like being a normal person, and just treating them like a friend, almost, just like having normal conversations like we have off camera, etc. And I think that side, also because for the fighters, we were speaking about this, they have to get sponsors, they need to make money somewhere as well. And if they can push their brand out there and just be like more relatable, people want to approach them too. So especially with my job, where I'm kind of behind the scenes, how can I get that side of them across as well, rather than just like the action shot, like them throwing a head kick, sparring, pad session, etc. All of those things which come into mind as well.
I love the perspective of that as well, as because obviously I was looking at it more of sort of like, there's a need or a want from other people, like fans, to want to see the personal side of the fighter. But I love what you've just said about, actually, it's really nice for the fighter to show, listen, I'm a real person, and to show, behind like the camera stuff, and it's good for the fighter to be able to show that personal side, because a lot of the time with the promotions and stuff, they have to be this persona. So if we can come and be like, just chat to them normal, and it must be really refreshing for them if we don't go up and like talk about the famous knockouts and stuff, and just say like, oh God, well, I've always grown up like absolutely loving Liam Harrison and Jonathan Haggerty, and I've met them both a couple of times now. So it's like, obviously we're working with Liam, and the first couple of times I was just like, just chill, just don't do it. And I've been dying to talk about loads of stuff, and it's hard not to, but the relationship is better because most of the time I've not. So, and it is just speaking to them on a human level and trying to get to know them as a person, because I'm assuming, you know, the fans that come up to them and talk to them, don't do that, but it's nice.
They're going to ask the same questions. But like, oh, that knockout was so cool, this fight, etc.
And it must be so repetitive for them. So I just love the perspective of, actually, there's a great want from it from fans, but also it must feel really wholesome for the fighters as well, to be like, no, this is who I am as a person, like, this is who I am away from all of that, which is really cool. Talk to us a little bit. So obviously some of the names I've just mentioned, them you're also connected with. Like, how did you go from obviously working in Amazon to thinking I want to get into combat sport, to working with some of the top names in the game? Like, how did that come?
Some people might hate the answer, but like, on one hand, free work and be a nice person, or try to be a nice person as much as you can when around them. Like you say, you don't just want to keep on meeting fans are great, obviously. Like, you don't just want to have that interaction over and over and over again. So how it worked for me is that I got a camera and I started working for free for a couple of gyms, where I was just like fully transparent. Hey guys, I just bought a camera, I want to do this for my career, I don't really have a portfolio, can I come into your gym and take some photos? I'm going to do it for free for you guys. And that's literally all there was to it. I wasn't like, and this is a sales pitch so I can sell you something later, or this like this.
It's
so
very
I can get
genuine intention.
It's literally just, if you were to get a camera for the first time and you want to do landscape photography, you're going to go onto a field, get some flowers, take flower pictures, whatever. I can't do that with combat sports. Like I need someone in front of the camera to train that. So that's just how I started. And did a couple of shoots like this at gyms, and then I was like, I actually want to work with some athletes more. So reached out to Darren Stewart. He used to be in the UFC top 10 middleweight. Just sent him a DM on Instagram. Didn't know him. Don't know why he responded to me. But like, thank you, Darren. He's amazing.
Yeah,
it's like one of the best people ever. And he was like, yeah, sure. Just come join me at the strength conditioning session.
So cool.
And turns out that Haggerty was training there as well. Evan Jace, he was training there.
Oh, cool,
and that's literally from there, like all my connections you can bring back to this one Instagram DM, which I've sent. And then from there, just like, don't get greedy for money. Yeah. Don't be like, hey, you know I do this for a living. Like I can't, because I didn't. You can just pay me and I'm going to do this for you. Yeah. And don't be annoying, so to say. Like be a fly on the wall, get content to them. Be like, hey, by the way, I got this shot of you. Even if you aren't asked to do something, just like get some content for other people. And then once you're done, approach and be like, hey, I got this shot of you. Just like, here you go. Don't ask for a shout out. Don't ask for anything. Just like,
no ulterior motive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like try to provide value upfront to people without expecting anything in return. And that's kind of how I've approached my entire career as a photographer so far. And would like to say it's treated me fairly well so far. But that's really just how it started. And then from there, you're going to be surprised how small the industry really is, where one person is going to recommend you to someone else. Yeah. It's going to be like, oh, I'm going to be at this session, then at that session. All of a sudden, you have this other big guy training next to him, and they're just going to joke around with you because they're in a good mood, etc. And then all of a sudden, you just know those people, you get to work with them. And it's more, I'm not going to call it luck, so to say, but it's more just like your normal life. This is the industry you're a part of now. You're going to make those connections and then just think, what can I do for that other person? Rather than just being like, hey, I want you on my portfolio. Yeah. That's how I see it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're trying to come at it from, I'm giving you value, I'm not trying to take something from you. So like, how can I be of value to you? Yeah. And then the natural connections just build from there. Yeah. I think that's a great lesson for just take the shot as well. Because I've done that. That's how we connected. Social media, just send a DM because you never know. Yeah. So, and then, like you said, just... You went for it by just send the message. Some people don't even do that. Stephen Bartlett talks about this a lot.
I felt so bad when I sent it at the end because I was like, I don't even have a portfolio and I'm just this random guy messaging you. Like looking back now, it was a terrible idea to message Darren at that time because I didn't have anything to show for it. But sometimes you can just get lucky. Yeah. And then once you are lucky, just be like, cool, this happened. Make the most out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. But like I say, like so to go from that moment of just sitting and thinking, I'm going to message him, a lot of people would talk themselves out of that. Yeah. So I think it's just a real good lesson of like, just go for it because you never know, which is the same as what we were saying. Again, it comes full circle, like even earlier with, you know, if this is where I want to go and this is a small step, that could have just been your small step towards the goal that day, just send a message on Instagram. Exactly. Yeah. That's like the one step towards the goal. And then if you keep making those tiny little steps, one of them does pay off. It was great that it was like one of your first ones, but one of them will pay off. Because I think a lot of people talk themselves out of that. And like this actually links in really well with another point that I wanted to go on to is imposter syndrome. So you've mentioned a little bit of that, and I think we all suffer from that. But I think a lot of people let that really take hold of them. Yeah. So imposter syndrome for some people would have consumed them to the point where they thought, I'm not even going to send that message. Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? But you managed to just overcome it on that, but you still struggle with that. Talk to us a little bit about that.
I think it's never going to go away, if I'm being fully transparent. But at the same time, especially something like an Instagram DM, you just need to get rid of that imposter syndrome for 1 second. Click send. Yes. And then after that, you can feel like an imposter again. Yeah. And that's good. Personally, for myself, you're referring to my Instagram story, I suppose. I was thinking a lot about, okay, what do I want to do with my content? What am I going to put out there? At the end of the day, the same way we were speaking about fighters and having them as a person out there, rather than just like the fighter, for me as well, it's kind of like, do I just want to put out content of fighters, or at some point do I try to put myself out there? Yeah. And there's just this constant feedback loop that you provide to yourself, which might not even be true, of just like, but what do I have to say? Why would people want to listen to me, etc.? Like all those things you're feeding to yourself, which even though, for example, I picked up the camera 13 months ago, I started posting 6 months ago. Because the first 7 months, I was like, I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I can't do that, etc. And even when I started posting, which thank God I did, because it now means that I have this career, which I have, I just felt like I wasn't good enough. And when I first started posting, it's just like, why would anyone follow this page? Why would anyone want to work with me? And then once you start posting, you realize that, okay, I still don't feel like I deserve this, but I'm still here. I'm still doing those things. And yeah, imposter syndrome never goes away, especially with social media. Because you see those big guys doing crazy things, like shooting, in my industry, speaking creative, shooting movies, like blockbuster films. And it's just like one-man band, like showing up and having like the craziest vlogs, etc. Like I do some vlogs with some fighters. If I compare it to like Anatomy of a Fighter, Will Harris, or like what the UFC is doing, then you find out it's like one person crew behind it. You're like, I don't deserve to do this. I shouldn't be doing this. I'm not that good. But it's like, yeah, but it's like a process. You get there over time. And the same way, I'm saying it's imposter syndrome for now. I know I'm going to put myself in front of camera within like 6 or 7 months.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? I have no idea.
That was my next question. I was like, so where are you up to with that? So when did you start thinking, actually, I want to do the personal side for myself as well?
First day.
And oh, really?
Right away. Yeah, because I've always been big into marketing, branding, and everything. And it's like people buy from people at the end of the day. Like if we guys met and like you like my content, but then you meet me in person and you hate me, we would never speak again. Because you just hate me, no matter how good the content. Exactly. And the same way, with so many photographers being out there, so many videographers and so many great videographers and photographers being out there, what makes the big difference between different people? Like I say, just the people, the person behind it. Yeah. And then I'm just thinking, if I can actually get my own brand out there, and people are like, oh, I like this guy, let's meet up, let's get coffee, etc. And then same thing again. It might not even be from like a business decision, but you can just meet someone, that person might change your life.
Personal connections.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like opening up your opportunities to like if you put yourself out there, you can be so much more lucky in life. Like so many things can happen. Just for me posting other people on my socials, I've had so many opportunities. I've met so many people. So what if I actually put myself out there and people know who I am rather than just like this facade of other fighters on my account? Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's so true as well. As like if you knock on 100 doors, one will open. Yeah. So the more opportunities you say to, the more connections you make, even if it's not necessarily business related. I mean, that's how me and Mouse first connected. We literally just went for a coffee together, and now it's like 2 years later, whatever, 18 months later, and we're like obviously where we're at with each other. So I think just learning to say yes to things and not and again with no ulterior motive. I'm not saying yes to meet you for a coffee because I think this is gonna make me quit my job and everything. Like in that moment, it's just let's just see what happens and just let things like organically build. I think again, the culture at the minute is very impatient. Yes. And I have been the same. Like I'm not saying this is like a judgment on anyone. I'm saying it as a reflection on me and how I've been. It's like we are impatient and you want everything now. But I think the happiest moments have been when we've just like met in the Trafford Centre and just had a coffee and spoke about where we're at, and then we ended up meeting Liam Harrison, and it was like we were just meeting for a coffee. We had no idea that was going to happen that day, and it's just because when we got ready for the coffee that morning, we were just going to meet each other and have a chat. So I think trying to come at things with no ulterior motive and with no like pressure of because I'm only doing this to get this. Yeah. Sometimes just do it because you're just trying to get to know somebody.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about who you know, especially in this creative space. Yeah. I'll call it. My job is literally working with other people. How am I going to go forward without meeting other people? Yeah. That's the thing. I can look at my personal life and be like, I'm happy, just to be clear. I don't really get lucky in my personal life because I tend to just work. And therefore, like, I'm always in my bedroom. I'm always in a working space, just like working. So I just close down all the chances of luck even happening to me because I don't put myself out there. Yeah. Whereas my professional life, I'm just out there, usually meeting people. Yeah. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, I have this person that I've met that person, etc. And then like opportunities come one after another. Yeah. Just like, do you open yourself up to be lucky? That's what I call it.
Yeah, I think it's really good as well that you've just spoke about the difference of like personal and professional, and again, it's remembering that center point of like where are you at in your journey, and what is your long-term goal, because if you know the long-term goal, you can work backwards from it. So right now you're saying in your personal life, you're not really opening up a lot of opportunities to be lucky because everything's focused on the career.
Exactly.
But for where you're at in your life in comparison to where you want to be, that is what's necessary right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's really good to know those 3 points of like, what is the long-term goal, where we're at right now, and what needs to be done to get closer to that. Yeah. Because you could focus everything on your personal life right now, but if it's not getting you closer to that goal, then it's probably actually stealing away from your future joy.
Energy, distractions, there's so much goes into it. Especially in London, there's always a reason to leave the house. Straight out of uni. Friends still at uni, it's like, you want to go to this house party, that club, parties, that celebrity performing somewhere, and then you have friends who have a lot of money being like, I can get us VIP tickets to this. It can be hard to say no, but you just have to say no. Yeah. Because the day after you're always going to be waking up with a headache like, why did I do this? Yeah. And then you just might mess up on a shoot. You might just not get any work done. Yeah. And again, like where are you on your journey? Where do you want to go? What makes sense today? Just not something I can do in London right now.
Yeah, I think that's really good. That's a point that, again, like I'll take away from this and try to keep remembering, like, where are you at right now in comparison to where you want to be? Because I think we get it's so strange that we actually miss that point because you're so close to like today, what I'm doing today. So it's like, just take a step back, and in the long-term timeline of things, I think just that bird's eye view to just zoom out a little bit and think like what makes sense. I think that's just such a good, clear and easy to remember what makes sense. Moving forward, what makes sense. So talk to us then about your very long-term goals. So you had a little bit of a joke about this last night on your Instagram, saying that you're just going to let your brother make the millions, and your brother's a genius and he can look after you. But then obviously the actual your actual goals are very big yourself. So you want your own production company. Talk to us about the very long-term goal. Like, what are you working towards every day?
Yeah, if I look at like marketing in general in the combat sports space, like, in my opinion, the UFC is the best one. The UFC's promotional packages, like the amount of content they're putting out, behind the scenes they're showing, of like actually telling those fighter stories. Yeah, it's second to none. Like, one championship is good, but I think the UFC is just the best by far. And I look at that stuff and I'm like, I won't be able to do that.
But match that level.
Exactly. But it's just not a one-man band. Like, you need a proper team to get that done. Like, following around fighters during fight week, showing what is going on behind the scenes, being able to provide this quick turnaround times, because it's not just about filming everything, but then also getting it edited and stuff. And I'm like, I would like to be the person that can do everything, but basically speaking, it's just not possible. And as much as I enjoy traveling right now, there's levels. Like, you can't travel non-stop and just be everywhere, and you just need a team. And that's just something where I'm like, I need to get it done somehow. Not sure about the timeline, because I do enjoy this being like one-man band, just like freelancing, traveling around, working with people, building those personal connections with the fighters, rather than being a corporation. But like long-term, just have to think that way of like, how can I scale it properly? Yeah.
Again, you're very self-aware, because you know, like, right now you're saying, I am traveling a lot and I'm the one-man band and I'm enjoying this, and right now that was what I wanted. So 12 months ago, that's what you wanted now. Yeah. But now you're here, you're very aware of the fact that this is working right now and could potentially for the next 12 months. But long term, it's not a case of, we have this conversation a lot of like, right now, this is what we need to do. But for the long-term goal, you would like to sort of progress into not having to do the travel as much. Yeah. I want to talk to you about the travel, because we've just had this conversation off camera. And again, no judgment to anyone. I've done it myself. This is why I'm asking you. Yeah. When you look at people's, or even with LastBSTN, with some of the incredible shows that we've been able to go and do, it looks so cool. Like, oh my God, you travel into London, you get to travel and do this, Talk to us about the reality of that, because it sounds and looks so cool on your Instagram. Like, oh wow, he's just been down at Bad Company with Amber and everyone, and then he's going back to London, and now he's in Manchester doing a podcast. That all sounds so cool, but the reality of that is sometimes, you know, you end up lacking in the diet, or you're just fueled by caffeine, or So just how have you found like the reality versus like how cool it looks to travel?
I don't want to complain about it, because it's like what I said, what I want to do. But like Instagram makes it look so cool, where it's like, oh, you're sitting in this fancy cafe, then you're traveling there, you're at a show, you're like ringside. It looks so amazing. Yeah. But what people also have to consider is that you need to deliver the content for the next day potentially, and you get home at midnight, and then you're there like, I could go to sleep, wake up tomorrow to like angry messages from people. Well, not even angry, but just like people asking, have you done this? Have you done that? Can you do me a quick favor, etc. Yeah. And then you're just somewhere in an Airbnb that you paid for, and just thinking, why am I doing this? I still enjoy it. Yeah. It's fun, but it can look very prestigious on Instagram to just be everywhere at the same place. But also, say you have a client meeting, you need to jump on a call with someone, even just family, speaking to them. You're on a train and you're thinking that you're going to have good connection, and then there's nothing. And then you need to push back everything on your diary, and you just sit there, and then you are eating out everywhere, trying to be healthy. Then you just spend so much money. It's just those things that people don't think about as much. Right now, I'm used to it. I don't mind it. It's why I had to buy a new laptop, so I can actually travel and work at the same time. It's just long term, you have to be realistic with what can be done and what can't be done. And right now, it's only UK focused. In the future, I would like it to be international, where I'm traveling across different countries, especially in this industry, like Thailand is the obvious answer to a lot of things. You can't be flying to Thailand every week and just straight back because there's a client that you're shooting for here. It's one of those things where it looks cool, it is cool, but it's also very energy draining, to say the least.
Yeah. And again, it just comes back to that self-awareness of like, we're very, sort of like being, which we talk about again a lot, is like being grateful for where you're at now. Like so grateful to be able to travel and do these things, because it is cool. Like it is really cool. But then also being, like you said, realistic of, is it feasible? Could I do this? Again, it's even going back to like where you was at in Amazon. Like, could I do this for the next 5 years? And I think it's just being aware of like, this is where I'm at right now and that's great. But in 5 years, do I want to be doing the exact same thing? Or it's knowing the next step and what you're aiming for. It's always knowing what is that next step. Because right now, 12 months ago, you've achieved what you wanted. But now the goalpost, not moves, because I don't want to, I feel like when people say like, oh, the goalpost moved, I think there's a difference between moving the goalpost and just leveling up your ambition because you've achieved something and wanting to achieve the next thing. So Thailand is another thing I wanted to talk to you about. So that was on your long-term goal. I think, was it last night you put it on your Instagram?
Yeah, last night.
So Thailand and Dubai, why those two places? That's somewhere you want to end up eventually.
Yeah, Thailand simply because of Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Really, and one of my best friends being from Thailand, and just all the stories he told me, I was like, this is so cool. Like even before I was like properly into Muay Thai, just the stories, I was like, I have to go there. There's like a different mindset of people. Exactly, because even for myself, I didn't grow up in the UK. I grew up in Luxembourg, and the country is very well off. Like its politics are great. Honestly, economy is great. Like it's very safe and stable. I didn't like that, so to say. I like a bit of chaos, which is why I moved to London, which is obviously very chaotic.
London versus Thailand seems like such a different vibe.
Exactly. And that's kind of what I want to get out of it.
Yeah.
Just like the experience. And then if you don't like it, which I would be surprised by, I'm going to love it. But like if you go, you can see the different mindsets you can just take from everywhere. As we were speaking about previously with like social media and like the hustle culture against like self-care. I think London is very much the hustle culture sort of things where it's like get something done, do this, do that, etc. Whereas in Thailand, you can still go the hustle culture way, but you can also just step it down a bit. Just like be a bit quieter. And I think that's something which I would like to experience myself too. Similar with Dubai. There's not anything in particular that pulls me to Dubai. It's just so many people that have done what I want to be doing. Have always come back and been like, this is so safe as a country. It's like so good. Like you need to check it out. The minds of people are so different. Alice was talking about it.
Alice said that the mindset of people in Dubai is very different. Like it's very collaborative. Like people want to work with you. Like whereas again in London, the hustle culture, I feel like hustle culture is great for achieving stuff, but it does encourage like a little bit of selfishness. Whereas Ellis was saying in these other countries that he's travelled to, it's much less selfish. It's much more like, what can we do as a collaborative? Like, how can we help each other? What can we do together? So I think like judging from what you're saying and the two sides to your personality, that would suit you really well as like, you are a hustler and you're obviously working really hard to achieve what you're doing, but also with a much more sort of like wholesome intent behind it. How would you find? Because I'd like to think the same of myself. Like I do have an insane work ethic and I don't mind working hard, but I do also like, you know, I would love to just go to Thailand and train and meditate and do that. So we've got the two of us. That's Miles just causing chaos behind the camera, guys. The two of us sound like we have such opposite, like extreme parts to our personalities. Because I really do. Like I love nothing more than just meditating, reading a book, and I would love to go to Thailand and just chill. But then also, I just want to work all the time. Like what is that in us? Like, please explain it to me. I feel like you understand it.
I hope I understand it. I don't know. For myself, I would say I like to keep to myself usually as well. If you're going to see me in my flat, usually there's no one there. My brother and I, we work like completely different times. So like he goes to the office early in the morning, he goes to the gym, I wake up still early, but he's like super early. So he leaves the flat before I even get up. I'm just there on my own, like not messaging anyone, just like not doing anything really, just like appreciating, sitting, not doing anything. But then also just like having a goal is something which I find so cool. Just like I like being around fighters so much because with them, what I like about the competition of fighting is like you can go into every single fight and be like, I want to win, period. Nothing else to it. No one's going to say, no, you can be okay with losing, but you want to win.
Yeah, of course, you're there to win. Yeah, absolutely.
And just that idea of like having a goal, it's like, I like the calm side of things, but just like having a goal and like going after that goal is something that I just love so much. And that can be anything. It can be a business goal, it can be a fitness goal, it can be like being a good friend and really like dedicating to that thing. It's like this idea of having a goal and like fully going after it.
Absolutely.
Without quitting your 9 to 5 and like risking everything. But like just that idea is something that I just love so much, which is why I want to show that behind the scenes of fighters too. It's like the mindset, why do they want to go where they want to go.
Absolutely. I feel like that's one thing that, well, one of many, but one thing mainly that the self-care culture has got right. It's like everyone you listen to, like Jay Shetty talks about having a purpose, and like Simon Sinek says like start with your why. Like everyone in the self-care culture is saying we need to have like, it's like an intrinsic human thing of like you need to be working towards something. You need to feel like you're waking up with a purpose in the morning. So when we have those moments where we sat in our home like having that quiet moment, we've still got the goal. We're just enjoying the quiet in the interim. So
and you need to recharge your batteries as well.
Yeah,
we were talking about it previously.
Recharge.
Just like it can be stressful. Just like speaking to others people, communication, getting the work done, etc. Traveling all the time, jet lag. It is very exhausting. So sometimes you just need to sit down and be like, okay, if you want to work, again, just like do the minimum of what you can do to get you closer to your goal. But then overall, just need to sit down sometimes too, because you can't burn out. You don't want to burn out.
Yeah, that's so true as well as like just the word recharge. Like that's very important because like it is such an interactive industry that we're in. So again, we were just talking about this off camera. Like you have to come with the right energy, and especially if people like. So I work in gyms a lot. If people are paying you to have the right energy, and you're so exhausted from doing everything else, then you know sometimes it is trying to find that balance of I can't do 100 things with 100%. So it's like sort of picking the ones that, okay, this is what I'm going to focus on today. This is where I can give my 100%. And it's much easier to do that when you've had that moment at home of just reading a book or just whatever it is for you. I spoke about this on another podcast saying I have a list, which to be honest, I really should have got out these last 2 weeks before I sent Miles a ranty voice note. But like basically knowing what your recharge things are. So whether it's like going swimming or going seeing your nephews or playing guitar, like whatever your recharge is, make sure you're doing that. And it doesn't even have to be like a balance of 4 days recharging, 3 days. It can literally just be an afternoon. Spend one afternoon doing what it takes to recharge and then send an email or whatever. But I think, that's where the self-care culture's got it right of like, you've got the goal, but make sure you do the recharge. But the hustle culture is a little bit like, we don't need the recharge, just keep going.
Just keep on going, And
it's like, okay, that's where I think the sort of like, knowing yourself has to come and like where that point comes from. So you spoke about your like the very, very long term goal is obviously like having a production company like the same level of the UFC and like providing that kind of content. On a smaller scale, again bringing it back to like where we're at right now, where do you see yourself in the next 6 to 12 months?
It's a tough one. Putting myself in front of camera. That's a big one. I just have to do it because like again, emotions aside, imposter syndrome aside, purely logic. Why do personal brands work so well? Because it's personally related to people. And I would also kind of be a hypocrite because my job is helping other people be in front of camera. And I'll tell them, oh guys, it's so good to be in front of the camera. It's going to help you. Then like, oh, so why aren't you doing it, Lamine?
Yeah, so
like,
lead by example. Yeah.
Oops. Yeah, I'm not doing that. It's like similar, you guys are in front of camera. So like, you are. You should too.
I know. Do you know what? As you literally, sorry to interrupt. As you were saying this, in my head, I'm thinking we should get Miles on. We should get Miles on.
We should get Miles on
this podcast.
Next podcast is going to be Miles. Yeah.
Because you are right. Like people buy from people, and Miles, like anyone who has met him and obviously knows who he is. Like Ellis has said the same. Like he's just got such pure intent. He's so led by passion. Like it's impossible not to love him, and it's impossible not to see that it's a pure intention behind it. There's no ulterior motive. He's done a million things for free. He's insanely hardworking. He's also got a young lad at home, like a little boy at home, and a family and a missus and everything. So he's balancing a million plates. Yeah. And do you know? I think for people to see that side of it is I feel like he's shaking his head behind the camera now, but that's people buy from people, and I think it's very true. And obviously we're excited to see like what you come out with, and it's inspiring because it will encourage other people to get in front. It's encouraged me to like get onto it 100%. Yeah. So with your like sort of next 6 to 12 months looking at getting in front of the camera, like what sort of stuff would you do? So you was asking last night like what do people want? What was the feedback on that? I have to check because I haven't checked yet. But I think it's probably going to be on one hand, if I actually talk about like what I speak about with other people and what they tell me that I should be doing. Yeah. On one hand, people kind of still like that war behind the scenes of like people training, where again the challenge is just like I can't put out sparring footage of people that I work with. Like maybe if I go to sparring session,
I'm going to send it to the athlete, and I'm like, you tell me what I can keep in and what I can't put out, etc. If you're drilling a specific technique for your next fight, I can't just be there like putting it out on Instagram.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Well, behind the scenes of what this coach is telling his fighter to do in the next fight because the opponent has this weakness.
Yeah.
Can't do that. It's like that's fairly
like
limited.
Literally giving the blueprint to the opponent.
Exactly. So can't really do that. But I think a lot of people that message me and ask like deep questions, I have like a lot of conversations with are like other creatives. I never considered being a mentor or coach because first of all, again, where am I in my journey? I'm the one learning currently. Like I don't want to give feedback to someone and like provide a blueprint on how to be creative because I'm not there yet. But I think still that behind the scenes of what I'm doing, for example, the chaos that's going on during like a Hitman show, it's like explaining to people how much running around there is of like showing up on time, getting all the camera equipment, me having to run to a camera shop to get another camera so that I can have a different lens. So I'm not going to be missing all the shots during the night because the fighter's going to be on that side of the ring and then they're right in my face and my lens is just not going to be in focus, etc.
Yeah.
All those small things which you don't see.
Yes.
And then like an SD card giving up, batteries dying, someone asking.
Yeah.
It's a lot of that and you don't see it. And at the end you're just like, oh, that image is so sick. And in my head, I'm like, I know the story behind that image.
Yes.
I know what was going on. I
know the blood, sweat, and tears behind that image.
After the Joe Ryan fight, there was one moment where I was like, please, God, save me right now.
Yeah.
So basically, the fans were obviously going crazy, throwing beer, etc.
Yeah.
And I had my laptop on the ground, and I just see like the floor being covered in beer.
Oh, no.
And I was like, I have my SD cards lying there. Everything is on there.
Oh.
And thank God, like nothing touched my gear. Nothing happened.
Yeah.
But just like that moment, I was like, if something went very bad right now, there would have been no content. And it's like those small things which you don't see.
Yeah.
It's like so much going on. It's so much fun. But it's also what I think people would like to see. The fun behind it, like the running around, like we had a conversation about the GoPro. Like if I were to put on a GoPro during the show, I just felt like how I'm taking the photo, switching cameras, running around. Like
that's a sick idea.
Like post-fight, being in the ring, like taking photos of like the team together, etc. And then just like running, especially in Manchester where like the stage was so long.
Yeah.
It's like running down the stage. It's like getting to the next fight. I was about to walk out and then straight back trying to get a different shot. Yeah. Having to run to a different place again with a different camera.
That's so true.
It's so crazy. But it's so much fun as well.
Yeah, I love that, and absolutely, that's the sort of stuff that anyone in the creative industry would like to see because we all resonate with that. As soon as you were saying that, like images in my head of like, oh God, when we've set up events and they give you like a little, so like a barricaded area where it looks like, obviously that's where the camera is, and you walk in and you take a picture of that and put it on your Instagram and people think, wow, that looks real cool. The reality of that is people coming in the barrier from the audience who are drunk, like, oh, can I come on and shout out to the missus and da-da. And then people like drunk and pushing the what's it called, like the, do you know, the, like these down.
Oh yeah.
Like the banners, like the backdrops and stuff, and people are drunk and falling over it. People like trying to jump off front of the camera. You'd be mid-interview and someone's going, hey, ask him this. And it's like to see, and then you see on camera like this really like composed, great interview where you're having a laugh with someone, and the chaos behind the camera would be so cool for people to see. And it does make it a little bit more realistic and like that less polished version, which I think people resonate with more. So like that image on Instagram of like, you know, doing the interview or that perfect shot of Joe Ryan after the win or whatever it is, that is amazing. Of course that looks awesome. But people see that, like it and think, yeah, that's really cool. But like a full round shot of like seeing the chaos, people look at that and be like, oh my God, that's actually really funny and I hadn't thought of that. And you know, you look at just the picture or the interview and think, that's cool because that is what it is. Yeah. But then to see the background of it, you'd be like, wow, I never thought of that. Yeah. I think that's a really good idea. Get out
of it. Like, I don't know if you saw the image of like Joe Craven doing the Manchester show where like everyone is storming the ring, obviously. Yes. There's just one photo I took of him looking straight at the camera, just like bleeding out of his nose, like Liam and his coaches all being there. The image looks so soft compared to what the reality looked like.
Oh yeah, it was wild.
Was so wild. And it's like, wild. I had like a GoPro on, just like, I was trying to get an image of like Joe just like walking around, maybe raising his glove or something, just like those emotional shots of like victory, so to say.
Yeah.
That's what I was hoping for. And then I just see from my left like Liam storming in, Andy storming in, like from the wild people storming in. I'm like, I'm going to miss the shot. I'm not going to get anything. It's like, what do I have to do? Bam, jump into the ring right now. Try to get to Joe somehow. Because at the end of the day, it's my job to get a shot.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's my duty to go in and get the shot somehow.
Yeah.
And like that chaos, that like split second where like I have to get this done right now. It's so much chaos.
Yeah.
If I don't do this right now, I'm just gonna miss every single shot. It's so much chaos.
That is because obviously we were there. We saw that chaos. That was carnage. It was lovely, but it was chaos. So yeah, I think it'd be a really cool duality. It'd be like to post a picture and then the video of like, here's the picture where like everyone's celebrating, everyone's like absolutely elated, and then here's like the carnage behind that moment. Yeah, that's really cool. Or with like Joe Ryan with Magnus with that drop. So like the picture or the 3-second video of the kick hitting, great. But show the carnage of what happened after that, because everyone started celebrating, everyone was buzzing, but then it's like, oh, actually, so it went from like everyone absolutely, you know, elated to, wow, this guy's really injured now, this is a problem. Worried. And then everyone's like, everything really dropped and went really serious. And then we were still like, the giddiness was building again, and then Magnus was okay, and then everyone, and it was like, am I happy, am I sad, am I like, it was like, but then you just see the 3-second video and you think, yes, to show everything cool. Behind everyone is happy.
It's like, it's scary.
Yeah.
That's very scary.
That was a really, obviously the Joe Craven moment, amazing to see like Liam and everyone storming the stage. But the Joe Ryan moment was, for me personally, watching that, very up and down, because everyone was like celebrating and insane, like no matter who won, like that shot was incredible. But then obviously one of them was really hurt. Yeah. So it's like insane celebrating, then real sadness and worry, and then celebrating again, and then I think that's a really cool idea to show like the carnage of that.
Also, a question to you guys in that case. That I feel like is a big challenge, because your responsibility is to to cover everything that's going on.
Yes.
When you have like the Joe Ryan on one hand, just like celebrating like crazy, just being happy, everyone surrounding him, you're like, oh, of course I'm going to get a shot of that. But then you have Magnus sitting on the ground. You're like, I have to cover everything.
Yeah.
But it just feels wrong.
Yeah.
To be there and point the camera at someone. So I decided not to do it, because I was like, not the moment. Just like, it's my job, yes, but just not the moment.
Absolutely.
It's like those decisions that you have to make for yourself, as well, of like, when do I respect privacy, although this definitely isn't a private place right now.
Yeah. And
when do I just go for the shot?
So obviously with the Joe Craven moment, you knew, I'm going to miss the shot unless I get in the ring.
Yeah.
So in that moment, you have to decide. So there are times, obviously, in the fight where somebody's really celebrating, somebody's loving life, somebody can't wait for the interview because they've just won, and then somebody has potentially just been really hurt, or, you know, just had their dreams absolutely shattered of like a title they were going for. And in that moment, as the interviewer, you have to decide, they're not going to want a camera in the face at that moment. So for me personally, if I've never really met the fighter before and I don't really know them, we would always just have a little chat off camera and be like, you know, how are you feeling? Is it anything you want to talk about? Obviously the winners, 9 times out of 10, we know the winners are going to come over. Yeah. But for whoever doesn't win the fight, we'll just go over and like shake the hand, well done, great performance, how are you feeling? And you can tell, I never say like, do you want an interview? I've never said that to somebody who's lost the fight. I'll just go over, shake the hand, or give them a cuddle, talk to them like, God, you know, are you feeling any pain? Like, how are you feeling? And then in that moment then, I feel like it's knowing yourself and being in tune with other people's emotions and vibration, and knowing like, do they want to talk about this more, or are they fed up? But I would never just go over and put the camera in and be like, oh, you've just lost, how are you feeling? Yeah. I always go over and be like, you know, have like a much more, it's not for the camera this, I just genuinely in this moment, how are you feeling? And then I from that conversation then I gauge, do you want to talk about this on camera?
A brilliant interview was Dylan, wasn't it, after he lost?
Yes, I was just going to mention Dylan. So the difference of Dylan and Magnus. So with Magnus, we didn't get. I'd had some really good conversations with Magnus before the fight, so I knew him quite well at that point. We'd spoken in depth. So when that moment happened, I knew how devastated he was going to be, because he didn't see that coming. He didn't think that was an option for him. So I knew mentally that wasn't something that he even saw as a possibility. Yeah. So I knew it would devastate him. So I just went over, give him a cuddle. We had a chat off camera. I didn't even ask about an interview. Yeah. Whereas with Dylan Sheridan, who is a young lad who was one of the first ones that we did, really, one of the first shows that we did, he'd lost the fight, and I went over and did that initial chat. So there's no camera in your face. I'm not trying to do it for that. You know, how are you feeling? This must be really tough. You've just got a new baby at home. You've got a lot going on. Do you think it just all got the better of you? And then he just went into like inspirational mode, and he was like, I'm doing this for my kid, da da da. So I said to him, this is amazing. Do you mind if we speak about this? Because this is the way you're responding to this loss at the minute is so admirable and so uplifting for somebody else going through something similar. Not even in a fight, just in day-to-day life when you feel like you're defeated. Yeah. The stuff he was saying, I was like, this is incredible. Can we talk about this more?
Yeah.
And then he went on and did an interview, and Vinny Shawman and Liam Harrison managed to see the interview, and it led on to a load of other things. So yeah, I think, sorry, to go back to the original question, it's having the chat. It's going back to what you said about having no ulterior motive.
Yeah.
In that moment, for whoever loses the fight, I don't want to get your reaction on camera. I want to make sure that mentally and physically you're feeling okay. Yeah. And then if we have that initial chat and you are okay and you're in Dylan mode and you're like, this is only going to bring me back further, great, let's talk about it. But if you're like, I need to process this, I'm not okay with what's happened, I need to see what happened and go over it, I don't understand it. And if you're in a point where you've, a little bit discombobulated and not feeling in sync with yourself, that's fine, we'll come back to it another time.
On that point, actually, that's the thing, a lot of people ask me how I got into the industry, and like any learnings that I have for other people that want to become a videographer or photographer in this space. One thing you need to know is like, the shot is never the priority. Like you getting the content that you want to get is never number one on the list. If you are in a gym and nothing goes to plan, the fighter is angry, they don't want any footage out there, just like, don't get the shot. Like, delete it immediately. Yeah. Because to you, it might just be a hobby, it might be fun, but for them, it's their life. It's their job, it's how they feed their family. So really just, the shot is never the priority. Do your best, but if it's not time and place for it, just don't do it. It's not worth it.
It's just being, it's so true. And it's just being aware of like, how and when to gauge that. And I think that only comes with not even time in the game, because when we spoke to Dylan, like I was quite new to the interviewing scene, so it's not time in the game itself, but it's time with people. It's if you're in a creative industry where you've got to be social with people, I think you hone your craft and you build this sort of like, it's almost impossible to describe or to teach to people. You just get like a genuine knowing of like, okay, body language, like they don't want to talk about this, they've stiffened up, or they're quite loose and they're open about this. You can sort of like subtly just learn these little traits of where's the yes and where's the no. So I think
it's integrity as a person, isn't it? Like,
what's that, sorry?
It's integrity as a person.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. And
like I've seen people zoom in on people that have been knocked out, and I'm like, bro, no one needs to see.
No, I could never do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, again, going back, like one of my favourite books is Simon Sinek's Start With Why. And it's basically saying like, with everything you do, what is the why? And for us, the why isn't, to get the clout on camera, because like you said, we work for free for a long time, so it's not about like that sort of stuff. The why is getting to know people and the mindset of a fighter. For me, the why of this is, it's not really about the records. I don't care how many you've won and how many you've lost. That doesn't matter to me at all. I want to know, like, how do you feel at that moment before you're going in the ring? How do you feel when you win? How do you feel when you lose? Like, so if you know the why, it's much easier to do the how. So I know how I want to approach people because I know why I'm doing it. So I'm not doing it to get the interview or to get the content. I'm doing it to learn about you as a person and then have a good connection so that the next fight I see you at, we've got a deeper bond. So I think it's always coming back to the why.
Yeah, I guess you also want to be an asset to the fighter. Like being able to help them. And like realistically speaking, getting the shot of someone winning, yes, that can help them, for them to post on their socials. The shot of them being knocked out on the floor, like, it's only for yourself. You can put it out there and might get a lot of likes because people are like, oh my God, this is such an intricate moment. But it's not going to help the fighter. It's not going to help the promotion. They're not going to use the picture. So it's only for yourself. And I feel like you should never look after yourself in this space because you are basing your work off of other people. So you just have to respect that as well.
I love that. And this is why it's so nice when you meet and you do these, like, have these conversations and you meet other like-minded people and you can feel like a genuine intention. And I feel like even in the short term, if it seems like, people who are doing it, not necessarily a wrong way, but a way that you wouldn't, feel good, with your integrity about, other people might feel like they get there quicker and do it, bigger and grander and they're getting all the money for it. But the longevity is in the intent.
They're going to be done in a couple of years because the industry is so small. Everyone knows everyone. Once you get a bad rap to your name, it's done. It's watering. Yeah.
And as well, for 100%, so it is very much like you said, it's such a small industry that, you want genuine connections with people. You don't want to be climbing over people to get where you're at because, like you say, the reputation is just going to speak for itself. But also for you, you won't enjoy it. So like if you ever are in a position where you could screw someone over to get that next step, when you're at that next step, you'll feel shitty about it. Like, well, hopefully if you're a nice person, I know I would, like you wouldn't feel as good. I'd rather like take a little bit longer, do it all the proper way and feel like you've got your integrity and feel like some of the connections I have with some of these fighters now is so genuine. Like I'm just casually messaging, like we've become friends, like actual friends. Like I've got the numbers, like I'm texting them, I'm checking in, like I know about the family life, and it's like that's so cool because that just happened from just chatting to you with no ulterior motive and not wanting to know about your record and how many fights you've won and just being like, how are you feeling like in this moment and what's built to this and what have you sacrificed for this. And I think the feeling is always better when the journey has been genuine.
Yeah, definitely.
100%.
Sure. Yeah.
I can feel it on you, like definitely. And I think that's why you are just going to go from strength to strength. Tell us where we can find you. So like your social tags, are you on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook? Like where can we get you?
I should be on more places. Currently Instagram, LamineMersch.media, Lamine, Lamine, MERSCH, .media. So yeah, just literally do everything over there.
Yeah.
It's where to reach me.
Is that how people book your work as well? So if a gym wanted to get a hold of you, they'd find you on Instagram, DM, this is our way?
Usually Instagram or email. I've got everything on my Instagram, whether it be my email, website, etc. It's on Instagram.
Yeah, amazing. Well, we'll tag. It's been amazing to chat to you, and
Thank you very much.
I'm very excited to see what you got, and I'm very excited to see you in front of the camera now. So
it's gonna be tough.
It's on. You've said it on camera. This is the first moment you've said it on camera, so we've got it out there now. So we're looking forward to seeing you in front of the camera.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Double up. The money I call up. Double up. The money I call up.